and welcome to NSO at Home Live, a concert series created by the musicians of the National Symphony Orchestra. My name is Marissa Regni. I'm the principal second violinist of the National Symphony. I'll be your host tonight and every Sunday night as we bring live music into your homes and hopefully into your hearts. This has been a really tough week, to put it mildly. It's been heartbreaking in so many ways, and we discussed whether it was appropriate to do a concert given all that has been going on, and ultimately decided to go ahead with the show because we believe music can be so powerful. And really, the same piece of music can evoke different emotions, right? So music can be calming and soothing and comforting, but music can also make you uncomfortable, or it can be very cathartic. There is no wrong or right way to experience any piece of music. So our hope for all of you tonight is in the next 45 minutes or so, the music that you hear can help you in whatever way you need it to right now. And we have two wonderful artists from the National Symphony with us this evening to perform and bring some wonderful music into our homes. We have NSO Principal Bassoonist Sue Heineman and NSO Principal Harpist Adriana Horne. They're both just terrific people and musicians. So without further ado, let's go straight over to the house of Principal Harpist Adriana Horne. Wow, that was so beautiful. Thank you so much, Adriana.
Hi, Marissa. Thanks.
It's so good to see you and hear you, and I miss you.
You too. It's great seeing you.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've all been together, so it's just so nice to see you and hear you play so beautifully as you always do. I'm just curious how you chose the harp as an instrument, because so many young people, I think, are introduced to their instruments maybe in elementary school. You know, you go to school and they send you home with a violin or a clarinet or, you know, maybe a trumpet, but nobody sends you home with a harp, or at least you better have a really big car if they're going to do that. So how did you find your way to the harp?
Well, I was 6 years old, so I was quite young the first time I saw a harp, and my family had gone to an event that had a harpist there, and she was wearing a gown. And keep in mind, this was the 80s, so she had the big hair, very impressive. And I think there might have even been flowers in her hair. So she was just the total package, playing this beautiful instrument and these beautiful sounds. And I think as a 6-year-old, it was like seeing a princess brought to life. And that was definitely enough to get me started. I think what keeps me interested in the instrument is that it's just so rewarding to play. It's a great solo instrument you can play alone. And I love playing in the orchestra. I think the harp adds such a unique color. I'm sure all instrumentalists say that, but I think especially for the harp, it's really a unique sound. And really, I just love how it feels to play it. Just to even play the harp, you draw it back, you're sort of cradling it and almost hugging it, like you're embracing the sound that's coming out of it. So I also like that the harpist plays just on her fingertips. A lot of people ask me, do you play with a pick or do you use your fingernails? But I'm actually playing just right on my fingertips, and the slightest change can really produce a completely different sound. And actually, the next piece I play has some of that quality in it.
Great. Well, we can't wait to hear it. So take it away.
All right. Thank you. This is the Saraband and Ground. And you'll notice when I play that every once in a while, my right hand will sink low onto the strings. Usually harpists try to play right in the middle, but you'll hear the different sound quality when I just lower my hands just a little bit.
Wow, so beautiful. I could listen to Adriana all day. We're going to go back to her home in a little while. But first, I want to remind all of you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube if you're not already. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube, NSO Musicians, and on Instagram, we are NSO_musicians. We're always posting content. We've got a couple of full orchestra videos that have been beautifully put together by our principal trumpet player, Billy Gerlach. We have some chamber music videos we've put up. There's some individual things and videos and photos, and just we've been keeping busy even in quarantine during COVID-19. So I urge you all to check us out there and subscribe to our pages if you haven't already. Thank you all so much already for all your support and enthusiasm. I know last week's show we had over 10,000 views already, and the number keeps going up, and it's all thanks to all of you for tuning in and for spreading the word amongst your family, your friends, your neighbors. Thank you so much. So as I mentioned, we're going to go back to Adriana in just a bit, but first we're going to head over to the home of NSO Principal Bassoonist Sue Heineman. So let's go over to Sue's house.
Can you hear the cat?
Hey! Bravo!
Hi, Marissa!
Hey, Sue! So good to see you and hear you as always. So
Yay.
Sue and I share a dressing room at the Kennedy Center. So I get to hear Sue practice quite a bit, during the week when we're actually at work, which is always a delight, and we get to talk and hang out quite a bit. And there's one thing that I see you doing a lot of in the room, which is making reeds. Yeah, which for those of you who are not familiar with the bassoon or any other double reed instrument like the oboe, they spend probably most of your time making reeds, right?
Most of the time that's bassoon related is spent making reeds. I wouldn't say most of my time in general, but yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
And actually I want to make sure that I mention that if on our YouTube channel, there's a really adorable video of Jamie, one of our oboists, going through the whole thing, and it really gives a good overview. But I would be happy to show you a little bit of my stuff.
Show us a little bit of your stuff. I mean, I of course have seen it, but show us a little bit. I will, yes.
So I have some props. This is my reed desk, by the way. And then back there in that apothecary, every drawer has like a different, I'm pretty organized, like they say, like cluttered mind, uncluttered desk, something like that. Anyway, so there's just everywhere in there is tools and cane. This is what the cane looks like when we started with. It's bamboo. I'm trying to aim it at there. Woo! And then we split that into these kind of, it's like, that's a quarter of it. This particular piece you can see is like really curved, so that will be going to the trash. From there, I used one of these machines that you may or may not be able to see back there in the corner. This is a bundle of like 10 pieces of cane, and then that becomes this eventually, which then becomes this. And then from that point, that's where the real work begins of sort of honing your own voice, kind of. It's sort of like making your own ballet shoes. Everybody's got a different mouth, saliva, jaws, their instrument, the hall they play in. There's a lot of variables that can determine what kinds of things you're looking for in a reed. And as my old teacher used to say, it's a cross we all have to bear. It's not something, I noticed you used up the why did you take up that instrument question on Adriana. I usually get that one. But they didn't tell me when I was 10, when I picked the bassoon, I didn't know about all that.
Yeah. Surprise. Well, it's always fascinating watching you make a reed, all the stuff spread out on the counter in our dressing room. And one of these days I'm going to get a lesson from you and make you a reed.
That'll be awesome, and then I will play it in the concert hall.
Okay. Uh-oh. Well, I'm very excited to hear this particular reed that you made in this next piece that you're about to play, which is Etude number 5, right? But maybe you could tell us a little bit more about it.
Okay, yeah, this is a piece by a living composer and bassoonist named John Steinmetz. He's a professor at UCLA and also has been freelancing there for decades. He's a cool guy. I've met him at some of the bassoon nerd conventions. We have a lot of friends in common. And this piece is variations on the cowboy tune Streets of Laredo, which felt kind of fitting for me because usually in the summer I go out west. So I go to the Grand Teton Music Festival. I love the West. I often try to go out to Utah. I'm a big runner, hiker, biker, and stuff. So I just love the American West. And so this piece it felt like something that would make me a little bit happy while we're not going anywhere. And I'll just say one other thing about it is the way he set up the variations is they have a little bit of a Baroque sort of flair, like the period in which Bach wrote. So you'll hear lots of little trills, kind of decorations on the tune that sound kind of like what somebody in the Baroque period might have written.
Cannot wait. Let's go do it.
And everybody can sing along. I have found, surprisingly, that maybe it's my age. A lot of people don't know this song. I thought everybody knew it.
Well, we will after tonight.
Okay. All right.
it. I loved it. Not only did I love it, but somebody wrote in while you were playing that this is their favorite solo bassoon piece. So
What?
you made somebody's night. I know. Who knew? Fantastic. So I know in quarantine, many of us have had a lot of home projects. Maybe we're cleaning out closets, or around here we've been baking a lot. But you have had the most amazing of all projects. Sue fosters a lot of dogs and cats and helps out in the animal community. And you got to tell everyone what you've been doing, because it's just it was like one of the highlights of my month following what you were doing.
Yeah, so you probably can't see it, but underneath that chair, there's a very hot cat. It's like 85 degrees in here. So all the animals are like, they're really hot. But because our tour was canceled and we're all on shelter in place, for the first time ever, I was available during kitten season to commit to taking a pregnant cat and seeing her through her birth and the growing and eventually adoption of her babies. And it's really been a beautiful, amazing experience because, you know, I used to call it's like my own little miniature wild kingdom. Like she came into the house and they thought that she was going to pop like immediately, like that night. They actually, the way this rescue works is that we pull from different rural shelters, like high kill shelters, because there's a higher demand for adoption here in the city. And the rural shelters just, they don't have this, they're just very limited in their budgets and space and stuff. So sometimes they have no choice but to euthanize the animals. But if we can pull them and find them homes here, then that's a very, you know, and yes, here's Juliana. I don't know how the timing is working, but my colleague, James, and his wife, Juliana, adopted the final of 8 kittens.
Oh.
And so I was starting to say that she moved up and we thought she was going to give birth like that night. And it took like another 2 weeks because she just kept getting bigger and bigger. It turned out there were 10 little babies inside there. 9 of them survived birth, and 1 of them unfortunately passed away a week later. But the other 8 were just thriving, and they all have homes. And the mother has adoption is lined up too. So that little part of my quarantine is coming to an end. But we're probably just going to start over because it's really neat. And I mean, I don't have children, so this is the closest I've ever been to just like watching birth and the way these little creatures develop. And it's so fast. Like in 8 weeks, they go from these tiny little slugs to these beautiful miniature, you know, mountain lions. It was really neat.
Yeah, well, I loved watching the videos. I mean, I too thought that Matilda, the mother, was going to pop. She was waddling around, and she was like a football with legs, and so excited when she gave birth. And we loved watching the whole saga. And you have the live cam up, and I mean, every day I was tuning in. It was so much fun. So yeah. I'm looking forward to the next installment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matilda 2.0.
So you have one more piece for us before we have to sign off from your house. Okay. So tell us a little bit about it before you play.
Right. So this is one movement of a multi-movement work called Bassoon Set by a composer called Hailstork. We've actually played some of his music in the NSO. He's an African-American composer who is also a teacher and a scholar, and he's on the faculty at Old Dominion University. I've selected this slow movement. I just find it really beautiful and contemplative. So I'm going to play that now. Hope you guys like it. And Marissa, I miss seeing you brush your teeth in the locker room. I have to find it. Here it is. I found it.
Thank you, Sue. That was so beautiful. Can't wait to see you back at work. Can't wait to see you in the locker room making reads while I brush my teeth.
Yeah. Miss you.
I miss you too. Thank you so much for your beautiful music.
Thanks, Marissa.
So we're going to head back now to the home of Adriana Horne, our NSO Principal Harpist, for some more beautiful music. Let's head back over there right now. Oh, thank you, Adriana. That was exquisite. So
Thank
beautiful. So we can't see this part of your harp, but so we can obviously there's a lot going on with both of your hands and all of the strings, but there's a part of your harp that we can't see right now, which are the foot pedals. Dun dun dun. That I know there's a lot going on down there. So even though people can't see your feet right now, maybe you can give us a brief tutorial on what you've got to do down there with your feet while you're playing.
Sure. So what you see here, the harp has 47 strings, and the simplest way to explain it is that the 47 strings are like the white keys of a piano. And in order to access the black keys and play sharps and flats and go into different keys, we use foot pedals. At the base of the harp, there are 7 pedals. Each pedal corresponds to a note in the scale. So for example, the D pedal, if I wanted a D flat, all I have to do is put the pedal in the top position and all my Ds change to flat. And if I need a D natural, I put it in the middle and they all change to natural. And then there's one more slot, sharp, where it changes all the strings to sharp. And I can change really quickly between them. So when you see a harpist doing what looks like a little dance, it's really what we're doing. A lot of time is spent preparing to know exactly where your feet will go next. And I think it's one of the really fascinating parts of this instrument, but also really the most treacherous, because it's all happening below. You're not looking at your feet, you're looking at your hands, and you could be playing all the right strings, but if your pedals have suffered some problem, then you'll be playing the wrong notes. So it's very satisfying when it works, but you have to work hard to make sure that you know where your feet go, because it really is sort of a coordinated effort between the hands and the feet.
Right. Now I know, like with the organ, they have to have, for the foot pedals and the organ, they have to have special shoes. Do you have to think about what kind of shoes you're wearing when you work on the pedals, or is that something that crosses your mind?
Yes, definitely. When I buy new shoes, I always save the receipt and make sure that they work on the harp. The space between the pedals is really narrow, so you have to look for a narrow toe. And I prefer shoes where you can sort of feel the pedal underneath. I think organists have really soft shoes that almost you can have that sort of tactile feel under your feet as you change them, which is nice.
That's amazing. Well, it is always so amazing to see and hear all the action that's going on back there with your feet. It is like a little tap dance. It's incredible. So I know you have one more piece of music for us this evening, and I would like if you would to tell us a little bit about it before you play it.
Sure. So the last piece I wanted to play with you, I thought would be a nice piece to play at this time. It's called Bois Solitaire, which translates to The Lonely Forest. And as we've been doing all of these solo things alone, while I love playing the harp alone, I really miss seeing you, Marissa, and all the other orchestra members at the Kennedy Center. And I'm so excited to get back to work and playing in the concert hall and playing orchestral music. And I've really enjoyed playing these songs for you. And thank you so much for letting me come into your homes tonight. And I'll see you back at the concert hall soon.
Wow. Thank you, Adriana. Thank you, Sue, for a wonderful night of just really, really beautiful music, so beautifully played. I want to invite you all back next Sunday for NSO at Home Live. We'll be back next Sunday at 7. Next week, we're featuring pianist Lisa Emmenheiser. And starting next week, we're going to be inviting each week one of the students from the National Symphony Orchestra's Youth Fellowship Program. These are high school students that are part of a program where they study with musicians from the National Symphony. They attend our orchestra rehearsals, sometimes even sit alongside us in the rehearsals. They study chamber music with us. They're just really talented, great batch of young people. So next week we will be joined by Rachel Smith Cohen. She's a Horne student of James Nichols. So please come back and join us next Sunday for Lisa Emmenheiser and for Rachel Smith Cohen. We look forward to seeing you then. As we leave you tonight, we would like to put up on the screen some words from President John F. Kennedy. These were words he spoke in 1963, but they are just as relevant all these many decades later. So as we leave you, I invite you all to silently reflect on these words, as all the musicians in the National Symphony will be doing from our homes. Thank you so much for being with us. Good night.